All right, so we're gonna try this out. All right, I'm gonna have my eyes on the road, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
But
hopefully. Definitely.
Definitely. All right, so I need to see my Malcolm X shirt. We're just getting set up here. I guess you won't see me eating, but let me get my little sippy.
That's all these motherfuckers need. They got more food. These some eating motherfuckers here.
So now we're at a rest stop somewhere between Pittsburgh and Harrisburg, and we're suited up. We're all prepared. We got our flavored drinks.
Yeah. Mike, just see. I told you, when you're with Mike, you will not starve. You will be eating your ass off.
All right, so now...
Or on.
Now, as promised, this we're going to drive, and this is the spoiler version of Get Out. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, and you don't want any information about the film, I mean, I'm sure, like, if you're on Twitter, a lot of this stuff, people are leaking it already. But out of respect for people that, you know, the audience that wants to be surprised before they go see movies, and then also we're going to give away some serious plot points in this thing, because this is going to be a more thorough discussion and / analysis of the movie. You know, but if you just want our basic impressions of the film, you can look at the other clip, or, you know, I'm going to start moving. So off the bat, if you just want to take over, Charles, and fill people in, like, what the movie, like, so now we can tell people what the actual plot is and go through it beat by beat in terms of some of the symbolism that we saw. And clearly this is the kind of movie, I think, that is open to a lot of interpretations. One of the things that I think is brilliant about it is, depending on your own personal experience with race, interracial relationships, you know, just different parts of the culture, you're going to read different things into it. Correct?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting from a cinematic perspective. Let me just say, I'm going to take one hat off, and I think that's what I did.
You don't have your hat on?
Yeah.
You okay?
And I don't have my hat on, but I'm gonna take. There's two hats. Spectatorship is about you're watching something and you're seeing it with your schema. You're engaged and you're processing something, and how you see it is different than how others see it, because your experience is different from the other person's experience. So that's why you have different feelings about films from different people. The critics see it one way. Everyone's a critic. Everyone's legit.
Mm-hmm. Right. So at base, you could be from a foreign country and not have any direct experience with race, and this movie still works just as a straight genre horror movie. Just a black person shows up in a strange environment and weird shit starts to happen, right?
Well, that's interesting. You said from a foreign country, because the thing is this: black people and white people are going to process this movie differently, for the very reason why I talk about spectatorship and experience. Because whites are going to view it one way, blacks are going to view it another way. As a black, this movie resonates on so many levels, because it's not just a horror film. It's not just a film about being upset or engaged in it, where you're engaged and you're questioning certain things because of the interracial relationship and how that's handled. That's a factor that plays a big part in this film. But the way it's dealt with in this film is unique to the way it's been dealt with in any other film where you have an interracial relationship, and that's what's significant about it.
Right. So, all right. So on the first level, yeah. So he definitely snuck something through the system. Right. There's a lot of stuff, and you know, if you saw the Michael Schultz clip, you know, he insists that Django couldn't have been made by a black person. I'm not sure what how a black filmmaker was able to do this, but I don't think it could have been made by anybody other than a black filmmaker or somebody like Peele who is in the midst of an interracial relationship.
Well, here's the thing. Mike and I, we talk film all the time. And Mike sees so many films. If anyone's an expert on films of today in the last 30, 40 years, Mike is the man.
Oh, thank you, Woods.
I mean that. But the thing is, what I'm learning from Mike, and hopefully what he's learning from me or getting from me, I'm bringing 2 decades of being processed, programmed over him, okay? And so a lot of times, as Mike likes to say, he uses the term wheelbarrow. My wheelbarrow.
Wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is the stuff that they've programmed my generation with, where we saw Uncle Toms and savages in Africa, and we had this image of the Native American as savages, where I'm growing up rooting for the cavalry charge, and I'm rooting for these son of a guns to take revenge on the Mexicans at the Alamo. That's the colonized mind I grew up with, watching motion pictures.
Right, and there's a line, we'll talk about I'm Not Your Negro also. There's a line in that where he says, James Baldwin, he says at a certain point he realizes he's the Indian. He's the person they're trying to eliminate. And that's a big wake-up call for a lot of African Americans,
There's so much going on in film. I'm Not Your Negro, which Mike just referenced, Hidden Figures, Ava DuVernay's 13th, OJ, what happened with Moonlight. Yes, things have changed as far as black imagery is concerned. And a lot of times what happens is when we're looking at film where blacks are depicted, as Black says, Reelblack, the mission of Reelblack is what?
To ensure the legacy of black film through education, entertainment, and information. Or something like that.
Okay, but the thing is, good is a relative term, but good images for you means what?
What quality? Good?
A good image for blacks.
Well, truth. Just being truthful to the experience of the person told through their perspective. If it rings a false note, then to me it's not a good film. But it could be. With that being said, there's no monolithic blackness. So for me, ultimately, the way we get past it, we need first to be able to see truthful images of ourselves, but then at the same time, the most widest range possible. From the same things that we got, not necessarily now in hip hop, but in the dawn of hip hop, it wasn't just one flavor of blackness that was defined. It crossed the whole range, and I think that ultimately, personally, I would love it if that same degree of diversity in terms of representation of blacks could be experienced within the same time frame within film, not just going cycles, okay, now it's going to be black puppy movies, now it's going to be civil rights movies, but to see everything at one time being made simultaneously. But right now, we're in a good position because there's enough content that we can go back and dig in the crates and find references and be able to see ourselves that way. And I think that that's super important. And also we're at a good time because a lot of the people that were involved in the struggle prior to now are still around and available, to us on the channel via Skype and the internet and just cameras everywhere. We're shooting this right now on a phone. I don't know how good it looks. But anyway, I'm talking too much because of the coffee.
Well, let me get straight to the heart of what we said we were going to discuss, particularly, and that's Get Out.
Get Out.
Okay. I jumped into other things just so that I wanted to make a point. We have seen images change as far as blacks are concerned, and the zeitgeist now is very different than it was when I was growing up. So getting to Get Out, why I love the film is because, and I'm going to get, I'm not getting nationalistic, but my analysis is going to be based on race relations in this American society.
Oh, just before you're gonna see the light change, we're in the middle of Pennsylvania. I've never done this drive, but for those who do, you'll know the Allegheny Mountain Tunnel. So we're about to hit the Allegheny Mountain Tunnel as we speak. So I think the light's gonna change behind us. All right, back to you.
Okay, so Get Out, we have this very dark black man, and we see he's in a relationship with a white girl, and he comes home and they're getting ready to go on a journey to meet her parents.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen wow, it's dark as hell. Let me see if I can brighten it up. And we've seen this scenario in many a comedy. Ben Stiller's made a fortune. Meet the Parents. Ben Stiller's made a fortune doing Meet the Parents movies and different things like that. So we've seen that plenty of times in whiteness.
Yeah, and as I said before, what happens with blackness is the fact that anyone getting into literature, or specifically what we're talking about is filmmaking, stories. You always want to come up with stories, but you find that this story's been done already. They've done this. Well, you have to learn how to retell stories in a different way to make it interesting. And through blackness, by using blackness, it becomes a way to use it the way Peele is using it in this particular horror film. And the fear factor, you always have to have the fear factor, as we mentioned in an earlier post. Usually the person who is being terrorized or will be the victim of the unknown terror. In many of the films that have become quite popular and conventional, it's the woman. And as Mike said, maybe she's under threat from the unknown terror because sexually she's going to be destroyed because of she's a woman.
Well, that's the typical horror film genre of damsel in distress.
Yes.
And it plays in, well, for those kind of revenge flicks, play into the fear of sexual violence, and oftentimes, especially in the late 80s, you see black people, well, in some cases, or deranged white folks, sexually threatening the white woman. So
yeah. So what you have with those
like I Spit on Your Grave, and
yes,
They Call Her One Eye, and those kind of movies.
Yeah, because what they can do is they can and the misogyny in it from a feminist perspective is that you can sexually objectify the woman and exploit, by doing so, the use of violence and sexuality. And so that was one of the things we found popular in these horror films. We knew we were going to see a lot of nubile white girls having sexual relations, and when we see some breasts, some booty, and all that kind of stuff, that's the society. But we knew the other thing is they kept making each iteration of these type of horror films more and more violent, where you get to the point where the blood and guts, how they were going to spill the blood and guts, that became a big thing.
But this is a different kind of horror film. I think this is more
different
by
because
Kubrick and Rosemary's Baby and those kind of psychological things.
So getting to the fear factor. The fear factor here is this black man asked his girlfriend, "Have you told your parents I'm black?" And he's wondering, The same way in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Guess who's coming to dinner,
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that the premise?
Right, that's the setup, basically.
Yeah, do they know I'm black? It won't matter.
And to set up, now this guy, he's also, like, we don't know what she does necessarily. I'm sorry, this brightness. We're hitting, it's starting to get dark. But he's a successful photographer. So he has his own money. He's not quite a doctor like Sidney Poitier, but he's not some ghetto thug nigga. So but visually, he projects what we're not accustomed to when it comes to that. He's of the b-boy generation. Correct? Am I going too far with that?
No, well, the thing is
skin color. But go, stay where you're at.
So, they had that thing when Sidney was being brought home. The Guess Who's Coming to Dinner refers to Sidney's parents. But the thing is, how are the white folks going to react to their little white darling daughter being involved sexually and romantically with a black man?
Mm-hmm.
Now, she's not racist, obviously, right? So, hey, my parents, no, don't worry about a thing. No, they'll love you.
Right.
But
and she says this is her very first time that she's dated a black person and brought a black person home.
Okay. All right. So the thing is, we learn. Here's the other thing that's important in film. You have to have what is called shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where through imagery we already can connect to things without having it being expressed in dialogue. So through this guy's eyes and his blackness, and we can, black or white, we can relate to this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from 1967 with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, we can relate to this, right? We know what's happening. This is an issue that's being discussed all the time. This same week, what's coming out? A United Kingdom with David Oyelowo, and how many movies? What was one of the films? The actress Ruth Negga was up for an Academy Award for Loving, and Loving is the case that in 1967 the Supreme Court came down and said interracial marriage will be allowed in all states in America, because there were still 13 states where it was forbidden.
Right. That's very interesting. I never put it together that this is coming out at roughly the same time as Loving in United Kingdom, which was also dealing with that same topic, but in a different way.
Yeah. And how many films are we seeing now where, I mean, we just in 2016 we had Free State of Jones. Now, Free State of Jones, many people stayed away from it because they said, oh, here we have another white savior film. And the character of Newton Knight, based on what people would gather from the previews, it looks like another white man showing black people how to revolt for their freedom. But the thing is, what a lot of people may not be aware of, is that this story, I wouldn't even say subplot, but the thing is, what was this story about? It was about Newton Knight's black son, or not son, but
grandson.
His grandson, who's 1/8 black, an octoroon, being told that his marriage was not legal. It had to be dissolved.
Right. So there's a taboo to this whole idea of mixing races, which we as Americans were aware of.
Right. So this is so much in the zeitgeist of what's happening today. So, but here now, we're seeing this image being projected in so many films, so many TV shows, everything. It's all over the place, as I said before. It's all over the damn place.
Well, let me just throw this at you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, inherently there's tension there because of the taboo idea. It's taboo to mix races or whatever. So getting into the story of Get Out, from the very first, we know we're going to see a horror film, and the music and all that stuff is like leading up to things, and we're trying to figure out. So did you feel a sense of tension from the very first image, or how did you first receive like them going up the road to make the trip?
I think that the tension and the foreboding is brought about by that expectation is brought about by what you learn beforehand, before you even go see the film, from previews, mm-hmm. and especially from previews, right?
Right.
So now, because of those previews, you already have an anticipation of what to expect.
Right.
The process of now tying in the expectation is with now when you're sitting in that movie theater and it comes on the screen, how that story is developed.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we see is, okay, we learned that number one, the black young man, he has some issues with going to meet this family because he doesn't know how he's going to be received. He expects, look, I may be in a relationship with this girl, but I know not every white person is going to feel the way she feels about me. Because you know what? Anyone in that relationship, they know that, hey, post-racial is an unrealized dream. Okay? It's to the point, it's so unrealized that someone who looks like me, someone who looks like Google and Bathara, when we talked about Beyond the Lights, the colorism issue comes up. Okay, we did you did a thing when you spoke to Byron Allen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he said he had a what?
White wife.
A what?
A white wife. Yes, she is white. She is that. She is that. But
so soon as he said,
shout out to Byron Allen. Anyway, go ahead.
As soon as he said he had a white wife, you have people go ballistic. Oh man, I can't trust this brother. So you're telling me Peele is married to a white wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got a white wife.
Yes.
And I'm saying to you, how many brothers and sisters in Hollywood who make movies, they have this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And when we see, I know what Sidney went through when I know what Sidney Poitier went through when he's making a movie about Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and in real life he met his future white wife making a movie.
Well, you almost have to be in that
Harry
situation.
Belafonte married white. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Well, you almost have to be in that situation to tell the story. Otherwise, it looks like you're really damning it.
So basically, as filmmakers will say, when through your art, you reveal, in many ways, your experience, right? And what is art? Art or movies? Movies through the art of movies. You either tell the stories that sees the world as it is, or you imagine the world as it can be. But Peele has some experience with this relationship.
Right. Now, going back, you're talking about the 3Ds.
Mm-hmm.
When the very first time they see each other, deep kiss, it's very clear that, it's very clear that they've been having sex for at least 4 months. There's a nice line, there's a way that it's set up in the movie,
But through dialogue.
Through dialogue, we understand, because, I don't know if we call it that. It's sort of like men sort of define the length when the relationship starts from the first time. They hit it, and women, they it's a little bit further. So the discrepancy between what she says and what he says is like a little bit of code, I felt. But anyway, so they've been in a relationship for 4 months. The very first time they see each other, it's a deep kiss. It's very clear that there's some sex going on, correct?
Yeah, well, this ain't no platonic relationship, brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's obvious.
And she didn't ask them to pack condoms either. So anyway, what as you're watching this, how are you reading that part?
So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, number one, I can see progress that's been made because it's a very dark. Oh, this act is very dark.
Mm-hmm.
As is David Oyelowo, as I mentioned
Opposite,
before. So that's a change, because as I said before, in the past, for cathartic reasons, you know, they've always tried to use a lighter complected, as they usually say, black to play opposite the whites.
But this is purely intentional. He found the blackest motherfucker.
Yeah.
With the biggest eyes.
Okay, here's the thing. When you talk about eyes with a black person, right? I kind of get some racist notions from that, because I remember when we went to see Don Nichols, and he started doing his race jokes. And he said, "Who's that? That's a black guy there. I can't see him. Is he upset? Because all I see is some white eyes coming at me." You know? But, okay, but the thing is, going to see the parents, and they live in the suburb somewhere.
Yeah,
and
very elite.
On their way there...
Isolated space. Oh, yeah, so that's a key point.
On the way there, they're driving and they're talking, and all of a sudden, boom! Something hits the front view mirror, a glass. What the hell was that? So they stopped the car to see what it was, and right away you're wondering what the heck was it?
Right.
So this young black man, he's walking, and she said, "Where you going?" "Hey, I'm going to check it out." You don't know what it was. Now here's something I want to ask you.
Yeah.
He sees what they hit. Did you notice what the color was?
The color of the deer?
Yes.
Brown.
It looked white to me.
You felt like it? Okay.
Yeah, look. Maybe I'm not wearing my
Well,
glasses.
the deer comes back later in the story, but that's another thing. But the main thing, at first, the tension builds because of a series of microaggressions. So I just want to move through it faster because we're going to run out of light. So the first thing, they get stopped by the police, and right away there's some tension there between.
They don't get stopped by the police.
Or the police come to.
They're on the road,
dead deer,
and the policeman comes and he want to know what's going on.
Right.
And right away, so now we have this white policeman. We don't know what his attitude is going to be, but we see, number one, he does something that is taken racially by the white girl. He asks to see the black guy's ID, driver's license.
And brother man, he's looking at it like, oh, it's just another friendly game of baseball. I better just hand over my ID.
Yeah, well, he's not going to put up no argument, because already he knows. He's been conditioned. He knows what to expect as a black man in the society. Okay? So he's ready to show the ID.
He's like, I don't have a driver's license. I have an ID card.
Yeah.
And the guy still wants to see it. And that works on two levels.
She's saying he wasn't driving. No, he doesn't have to show you that.
Right.
Which is true. He wasn't driving. I was driving. No. And, the cop. So right away, here's the language also. The cop. What's our stereotypes of cops? You dig? And black men. That's in there.
Right. So right away. And then also the horror thing is working too. So I'm reading it also like, wow, they're going into this town. Maybe this cop is part of the deal. He's trying to find out more about this guy so they can set him up later.
We didn't even talk about the very first thing that happened in the movie.
Yeah, well, we can skip past that.
Okay, we skip that
because we don't want to.
But the fear factor has been established.
All right, so microaggressions. They get to the town or the house, and when they get there, the father right away, he starts doing the Lenny Bruce how to relax your colored friends shit, like I would have voted for Obama.
Don't you skipped.
Oh, okay, go.
Coming to the house, who's doing all the work?
Yes. Okay, I forgot about that. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as he drives in, he looks over and he sees this guy waving, cutting the grass.
Black guy doing the
servants,
right? When they come in, black maid. So my man is saying,
what the fuck's going on?
This is some liberal people here. There's some shit right out of the old days. This looked like a southern plantation was going on here. That's what was in that.
But it's sort of an oxymoron because these people are relatively young, but they're dressed and they look as if they were like Uncle Remus and Aunt Jemima. You know,
You're talking about the servants?
the servants.
Yeah.
Physically, they're young.
Yeah.
But
yes.
their dress and their code.
Their demeanor is stereotypically aunt and uncle like. When I say aunt and uncle, like Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben.
Mm-hmm. Uncle Remus.
Uncle Remus.
Well,
Okay.
Ben. I'll give you Ben.
Okay. So,
Anyway.
so that imagery is there, and this whole plantation look is delivered also. You know what I mean? I get that sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. It feels like, even though it seems like they're up north, because they're just driving. I'm sorry about that, guys. It's just I'm being director of photography, as well as we're getting this together. We got a little straight away. There we go. That's a little better, I think.
All right. So the elements are in there. He's putting it in there. He's putting a lot in there. The cultural references to the antebellum South and like where more and more through these little nuances, you're saying, hold it, wait a minute. I don't think these people are so liberal here.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add, Mike?
Well, I'm just so yes, but they act as if they are, because he said I would vote for Obama a third time, and all this other stuff. It's the sort of microaggressions that we as black people always encounter whenever we run into white people. They always find the reference that they think we're going to understand, be it sports or music or or Obama specifically,
Well, there's always this thing. What
he's
what
jamming the
upsets
needle
a
there.
lot of black folk is
Mm-hmm.
this patronizing attitude of so-called white liberals, where they always want to make you understand off the bat, we don't see color. If Obama could have run a third time, I would have voted for him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was a great man.
Yeah.
He was a great man, Yes, I marched with Martin Luther King in 1963. Here's the picture.
Right. Or the whole thing is, what's there to be upset about? White liberals always want to tell you, it's not really a problem. We love you.
Right. And love is a key factor in this, because I want to move a little further on. We can skip through them. So as he's visiting the house, they meet the mother. Everything's got a little strange vibe to it, from the very first time they come in. But we also established that he is a smoker, and somehow
the black brother is a smoker.
So he's nervous. He wants a cigarette. He's sitting there at the table twitching. I said, "Well, what? You need a cigarette?" He's like, "Oh, you should talk to my wife." Played by Catherine Keener. She's a therapist. She's a psychiatrist. She can hypnotize you so that you don't want to smoke anymore. Right?
What was it the father said he used to have this bad habit?
Yeah.
She cured him.
Now anytime I think of a cigarette, I want to vomit.
Right.
So he's like, nah, I'm good. I don't want
so
anybody
to bring up this
into my brain.
So what happens here is you kind of notice there seems to be a sort of zombie-like demeanor to the people, and the servants particularly in this film.
Yeah, because when we walk in, then we see the woman, and there's a key line. I don't want to give away the key line, but basically they say that the servants were inherited from their parents.
We wouldn't have these servants if it was really up to us, but we just couldn't let them go because they worked for our parents.
Right.
Okay.
We just wanted, after our parents died, we just wanted to keep them here with us. They're such good people.
But there's something, when you look at the servants, there's something about them that doesn't...
Yeah, mathematically, it doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. Not only that, their demeanor is nothing that says it look like they have any kind of like, a lot of times when we see each other, right? Hey, bro, what's happening? What's happening? You don't get that.
Right. And yeah, it's very strange. But then now we get so we need a dose of reality, right? We know it's strange because we're watching a horror movie, but we have to see it through his eyes. So that's when his best buddy comes in, who's played by Little Rel Howery, who was the TSA agent. And I don't know, what role does he provide in terms of the story from, besides comic relief.
Well, what he provides is the possibility of someone who can have the ability to offer safety or someone who can keep tabs on his whereabouts.
Right. Well, also
may become possibly to provide some agency for his safety if need be.
Well, no. I mean, that's correct, but I want to get at the fact that he's woke as fuck, right?
He's what?
He's woke. He's even though he's street smart.
He's a TSA guy.
He's woke. He knows what's going on. He watches A&E, and he knows how white people are, and even because the role that our lead guy is playing, he's very almost nonverbal at the beginning of the film, because part of it is he's an avatar for the audience, so you can't necessarily develop his character 1,000% in terms of like being pushing action in the first act, because we need to invest our emotions in him.
Who are you talking about now?
The main guy.
The main guy.
Yeah, so he's quiet, and the girlfriend is the one who's speaking, right? Which is brilliant the way it's crafted, because white audience members, they're looking for an in for the story, so they're looking at the girl,
right,
and saying, wow, okay, they make a nice couple, this is going to be interesting how they're going to come together to, like it's almost like a buddy thing that we are conditioned to expect, like, oh, they're going to be a team, but we'll discover later that may or may not be the case. But anyway, but Lil Rel, he works for TSA, he's a comic relief, and he's like, man, I told you, you shouldn't go up there, you know how these white folks are, they're gonna fucking do this. But it's beyond anybody's expectations. It becomes his worst nightmare.
Lil L provides two things for the film, for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say this film is so good, because it's well crafted. Okay, mm-hmm. Little L provides the comic relief, but he also helps to move things along, where we can get a sense of not only through the lead character's facial visions, which says he feels something's not right here, but he can have that dialogue where he's calling up his friend and they're exchanging things, and then we hear Lil L say, "Man, where you at? Mm-hmm. What's happening with you, man? What?"
Yeah, he keeps it real. He keeps it real. He keeps it grounded, and and he's the person, like, so then they use the cell phone as a reference, like somebody keeps unplugging his phone, like that's his connection to the real world. That cell phone, Little Rel, represents the connection to reality in a sense, because anytime things get a little strange, he's either reaching for a cigarette or reaching for a cell phone to get to his anxiety. So I just want to move along. So in terms of code, so let's talk about the two servants, right? And their behavior. The one, there's a scene in the movie where he walks up to the guy and he's chopping wood. Well, the night before, let's skip past all that stuff. So the night before, something happens to him that's kind of strange, and he runs into this guy, and he's chopping wood. You want to talk about that scene?
Well, the thing is, the male servant who's out chopping wood is, when they first have the opportunity to talk to each other, you can see this guy's not all there. Something's up with him, and he says something to the lead character, like, "Oh, you with so and so. She's fine, right? Oh man, top of the line, there, brother. Fine, yeah, man. Whoa,
you got the prize.
Yeah, so my man, the brother, he looking at him like, what the hell is going on here?
Right.
So that's your first, another incident where.
Well, he triggers something in him, where he's like, it's like, no, I'm here because I want to be here. I'm doing this.
Oh yeah.
I really want to be here. I'm not being held here against my will. I really enjoy working for these white people.
Well, yeah, I don't see myself as no servant.
Right.
That's pretty much what you know. This.
So how does that relate to the previous incarnations of this type of character?
Well, what?
Or the previous conception?
You mean
of
if we see
blacks in servitude in American film?
Well, it could harken back to the early images of the happy mammy, the happy Uncle Tom. You know what I mean? We just love doing this. We don't see anything wrong with it. We're happy to serve you, as Kevin said. You know, that image, no one makes a servant like a black person. No one can serve the white man like a black person. That's what was encoded in that.
Right, so sort of like behind the smile, there's this deep longing, this pain, this connection we all feel.
In fact, that's
because we share the same
all
skin.
very real in the print ads that came out, where they had the Uncle Bens and the Pullman Porters, miles and miles of smiles, happy to serve you. You know what I mean? And then they always had the thing where the white guy would touch them on the head, and
Yeah. So he's right away. He's going right into it. Like, okay, we know something's wrong with this space, but when he looks into their eyes, it's like a flicker happens where there's a sense of connection, where he's, and he comes back to the girl and says, well, he seems really hostile, right? Which is something she would never see.
Mm-hmm.
He said, what do you mean? Because everything he said, it just comes off as hostile, So.
And she says, what?
The first thing she wants to do.
Who?
Mm-hmm.
What? Him?
Well, maybe it's because he's jealous. Maybe he longs after you.
Yeah. Him?
Oh, I'm gonna tell my father.
No.
Don't be telling your father. It's like, chill. So right away, there's that line, that dividing trust issue thing, right? Which sets up some tension, and then
don't forget early on they also have where when they were on their way to meet the parents, what the TSA guy said. He said something about where how I was after you and you went with him.
Oh yeah, I think they were teasing at that point.
Yeah,
but there is this sort of undercurrent. Even I don't think the girl was attractive personally, but the idea that this white woman is some sort of prize to all these people, a treasure of some sort.
And one thing is coming out clearly, and little by little you're seeing how the white woman is the lure.
Yeah, literally and figuratively.
And how the black man is like, we always say in
under
these
the
films,
spell,
that kryptonite. You know what I'm saying?
Black man's kryptonite.
The desired one.
Yeah, this might be OJ's favorite movie, right? Anyway, so then when he goes to see the maid, a similar connection takes place. I mean, you have to understand also that in the course of the thing, it turns out they're not only going to see the parents, but this is the weekend that all of the grandfather's friends traditionally come to celebrate something, some sort of strange meeting, like an eyes wide shut kind of thing.
There's a revealing the fact that the family's coming over and
well, friends of the family.
Friends of the family, it's a traditional thing that happens every year. Socialites. Yeah.
Are gonna be. You're gonna be.
But the daughter is like, what? Are you serious? Is it this time? Yes, it's this time.
Mm-hmm.
So, huh? And then you have that Rosemary Baby type thing.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. So all these people show up, and every single one of them are elderly white folks. It's just creepy. Just the way they cast the face is fucking creepy. But there's one,
and they're looking at the black guy like a piece of meat.
They're looking at him. Yeah, the first thing you see is that he's
that Rosemary Baby thing.
Yeah, he gets.
If you've seen that, you know what we're talking about.
Like who, hey everybody, and they're touching him, and the microaggression references come out. I know Tiger, all this kind of crazy shit.
Yeah, there's one scene where one of the white women feels his arm.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's before or after that he says to the maid. No, it's after that. So let's not jumping ahead. So he says, there's one other black person there who's dressed kind of strange and is a young black man, but he's acting as if he's extremely elderly. Like he carries his body as if he's just frail as fuck, but physically he's got to be in his 20s. And brother man walks up to him. He's like, hey brother, it's good to see you. Not too many of us around here. And he goes to give him a pound, and that shot is in a lot of the trailers. So right off the bat, he's like, okay, there's something really strange here. He doesn't know the codes.
Yeah, we see this young black male that our lead brother, what's his name? You remember his name?
Oh, Lakeith from Atlanta. Great actor. And Miles Ahead. My favorite film.
I don't want to keep saying young, but Lakeith looks at him like, hey, okay. You see that connection. We're always looking for connections because, as someone says, I get kind of nervous around a whole lot of white people.
No. Anyway, people that saw the movie. Okay, so we hit that point. So make that, if you want to hit that, and we'll go maybe another 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, so the thing is, he sees them, but there's there's no blackness to this guy. It's like he's caught up in this white world. Mm-hmm. So there's, that sense of connection, it's not existent. So once again, my man realizes he is truly an isolated black.
Mm-hmm. And then, maybe we should cut it there, because that's when the plot thickens, right? Like, I don't necessarily, like, they need to sell tickets. We don't need to tell the whole story. Right. So it's set up. There's lots of layers to this. I mean, for those who've been in that place, I think it's the first time we get to see that kind of thing. Like I said in the previous thing, it's great to use the genre.
Yeah, because what's unique about this film is once again, we've seen these tropes in so many horror films. We've seen the invasion of the body snatchers, Rosemary's Baby, but if it's never been from the focal point of a black, that's how we've changed. And now we're seeing it where blackness is used, the conflict of the binary of black and white is used where it becomes a source of conflict and fear. Mm-hmm. And how in many ways you can really escalate it to real horrific levels, and it makes the horror work. But how this black man is going to either survive or not, what's going to cause his survival, what he has to do to try to survive, and if the situation, the fear, if it's real, yes, it's real, how he deals with it, that's what makes Get Out such a unique film.
And one of the things, like, it's amazing the trick that he pulls. Now, I mean, I think most people, when they see the film, there's a huge glaring plot hole that happens towards the end that I won't give away, but logistically, when you backtrack it, it doesn't make any sense why a certain character would turn out to be a certain character. Right, that's enough, right?
Yeah.
And then that's a hole, but I think as you're watching it in real time, you can suspend disbelief on that because it adds to the excitement of the movie. The only other things I would ask you, Charles, I mean, what do you think the family symbolizes in the film? Because there's a whole, the subtext, the sub-theme of this movie is family and need to connect.
Family and need to, and you're talking about the white family?
Family in general, but specifically, what does family represent to the main character, and then also to within the structure of the film?
Well, first of all, family is very important. But the thing is, one of the things that's missing in the Lakeith's character's life is the disconnect.
Well, no, Lakeith is the stranger. He's not the main guy. Lakeith is the guy who shows up at the party.
Okay, no, that's why I asked you do you remember the lead character's name?
I honestly don't.
Okay. So I'm talking about the lead character.
Right.
What's missing in his life? There's a disconnect between what happened to his family,
Right.
and his mother, particularly, and he doesn't have that. So in many ways, when you hook up with someone who you feel is going to be the love of your life, maybe this is a way to become a part of a family through that relationship.
Right.
So that's important. That's something you want. That's one of the reasons why, you look to go beyond the love relationship between the man and the woman, and then to extend it with, if it's not, if your family's not there, at least you can become a part of her family.
Right. So, and they honestly, they truly love one another in the film, or at least he loves her. But then, what does her family represent in terms of symbolism and code?
Well, what we find,
I mean, don't spell it too much, but
I think what we find is that there's a sense of tradition, in the white family. It's sort of like there's this tradition that they want to maintain. Okay, they want to maintain a tradition. This is the way things are, and this is the way we want to keep them. And we're not going to allow anything to disrupt that. Because there's a key scene where, where...
I didn't get that, but go ahead.
Well, first of all...
Well, I mean...
Remember when he says he's a smoker? And they feel his smoking...
He's smoking in front of my daughter.
You're not going to smoke in front of my daughter. That's a threat to her life. That's a threat to what's important to him. That's important. That's one of the layers. That's why I can't wait for people to see it, so that I would like to know if they're seeing these things, because this film works on so many levels where it touches on what's going on in this society.
But then, symbolically, all right, we're gonna wrap it up. But symbolically, I watched the movie. Eugenics comes into play in terms of,
Eugenics. But see, now you're saying.
Well, eugenics comes into play. One of the early scenes, without giving away the ending. One of the early scenes is, a lot of what the family's motivated by is the fact that the grandfather lost to Jesse Owens in the Olympics. I think that's very telling. That little moment. It's like, well, it was rough. Too bad for your grandpa. Like,
he came in second place.
He almost got over it. So that's setting things up. Eugenics, and then shout out to Baba Dick with his theories about the LA riots. You got to watch that video to understand what we're cluing in on you. And then the.
Well, he was he's supposed to be a judo man.
Well, I mean, that's plot, but I'm talking in terms of theme and race.
Well, judo, because don't forget that she has a brother also who comes off the freaking wall, and he's not subtle about his not liking this black guy.
Right, yeah, he just wants to destroy this guy, or challenge him. I mean, he's just fucking weird. Whoever, I don't know the actor. He was brilliant. Everybody was brilliant in it. But yeah, so you got Eugenics. A lot of things. The opening song with Childish Gambino, "Stay Woke," which it kind of alludes to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and the fact, and people say this on Twitter, this whole jealousy, envy factor, okay, so maybe this black guy is jealous because you got this white girl who's the prize, but then white folks are jealous of black folks.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of, like I said, you get the eugenics, you get all of that. That's why I say I can't wait for people to see it, because to see if they see all this encoded messaging of how these are the things we have to deal with racialistically, and the fact that, the fear factor is, are these people going to take over? Because remember, I'm not going to have you smoke in front of my daughter and threaten her life.
I don't feel like that's a
I don't want anything to change traditions and stuff like that, But the thing is, they're about trying to preserve tradition. I mean, that could be symbolic of trying to preserve tradition.
Well, maintain power, extend life.
Because how many times
keep their whiteness.
Well, yeah,
on top.
You bring up the fact that they brought up Jesse Owens, right?
Yeah.
Well, what was Jesse Owens? Jesse Owens turned these suckers' belief in Aryan supremacy on its ear.
Right.
Okay, and then not only did he embarrass Hitler's Germany with that nonsense, but it comes out through the characters' dialogue that my father was part of that, and he came in second.
Right.
Okay, so right away he wasn't athletically as good as a black man.
Right.
Okay, so
okay, I see where you're going.
Okay, so that's
I see
So
what you're saying.
okay, so
yeah.
when we got Tiger Woods, we got look what happened when Tiger Woods come in there. Right away, that watermelon incident. Right away, yeah, Tiger, and then how we always said, oh, Tiger didn't want to be black.
Right.
But he couldn't avoid being black because that's what he is. You can call him Copulation, whatever. He's black.
Right.
The Venus sisters, Venus and Serena.
Right.
What that did to tennis.
Well, the key. All right, so we'll let it go. So
Jackie Robinson, the baseball, they feared this.
Right. So the key.
Now
thing,
Obama in office.
Oh boy, here we go.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
that's exactly what this movie comes out of.
Okay, then.
That's the whole reason why all these things are coming out, because of Obama. But so the last thing, I mean, did you get it? Where just a little flash of light creates a sense of recognition within these black characters, these sort of brainwashed shells of themselves. They just get a flash of light, and it triggers something inside them.
Well, the flash of light, that's a flashback to maybe who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, symbolically, is when people see it, they're going to understand what I mean by how this society, how you control people by getting into their heads.
Right. So, there's a car issue. There's all these tractor trailers along here. Yeah, so stay woke, folks. This is the kind of movie you want to see. This, I guarantee you, this is one of those movies. If you watch it 10 times, you're gonna read it 10 different ways. I mean, it's not 100% perfect, but it is 1,000% on point. Big shout out to Jordan Peele for making the movie that he wanted to make. Putting the statements out there that he wanted to, and doing it the right way. In terms of just really getting the symbolism. And then we didn't even talk about the cinematography and the production design and just the overall production value and craftsmanship on that level. That makes it just like I said, you don't really have to know anything about the subtext of the movie in terms of race. I really think this movie works just as a straight horror movie of somebody who has to fight for their survival. And in 2017, trust me, we all are at a point.
And I'm telling you, the ending is powerful too, because it's an unconventional ending, and it's an ending that's going to say something else as far as I'm concerned, and we'll speak on it at another time. Yeah,
well, this we're going to continue to talk about this. Anyway, all right, thanks for spending the last hour or so, almost an hour, with us as we figure out how to get back to New York. Oh, I'm sorry, cut Charles off. This is like fucking crazy. These motherfuckers are going like 80 and tailgate my ass on a fucking curve.
This particular post is in reaction to some of the comments on an earlier post about Get Out, where some people say, "Oh man, what if I don't go see the film?"
Oh yeah, well yeah, thanks. Well, yeah, thanks again for everybody who's been watching the videos. It's a lot of fun. It's been great hanging out with Charles the last 4 days, where we can do things in real time and
Mike's going to put up a discussion we had with one of the filmmakers. We got the opportunity to speak to a lot of filmmakers, and a lot of things going on in our head and what we see.
Yeah.
To hear people working in the belly of the beast reinforce it and talk about it, it's been wonderful.
All right, stay woke.
Stay woke.